Now, so Alhamdulillah, today, inshallah, we are dealing with functions. And then, as I was saying before, we have three ways of writing functions. We have what we call function declaration, uh, arrow function. Can I remember the third one? So they perform the same thing actually, but the only difference is how they are being written. And the arrow function is actually the latest version that comes with ES6 model. ES means ECMA scripts. So that is so ES6 plus we now have ES7 and so on. So those are the latest versions of JavaScript. So as I've said, we have function declaration ahead, then we have function expression before function arrow function. So when we're talking of function declaration, it is the kind of function that when you want to start it, the first thing that you will put down is function. So function declaration. I just hope I get the spelling. Declare, declare. Am I writing? Okay. Declaration. So when you want to write function declaration, the first thing you need to write is to write the word function, then your function name. So let's just say function name. So it can be anything. So I'm just using this as an example for now. Function name. Then you see this bracket is what we are going to put inside the bracket is what we call parameters. Then you are going to open your code block, and it is this code block that is actually going to perform the function you actually want it to perform. So having done all this, your work will still not be visible. Okay, let me say I'm putting alert here now and say alert function name. Let me just say alert function declaration declaration. So let me quickly show you what I mean. So with this, nothing is going to show because there is something actually missing. And what is missing, I'm going to show it to you now. Let me pair this. So what is missing is that you have not called back your function, like this function name. So after you have written function like this, you need to call back your function name to actually see. See, when I was learning to subhanallah, I actually went through a lot just because of this mistake. You will have done a lot of things and you just see that I'm not seeing what I have done. My project is not showing. And the only you see immediately that I wrote this, it popped up here. If you don't call the function name here, nothing you can do. It's not going to show. So if you remove the, let's see now, you will see that nothing will show again. So this is what part of the thing that let us know that this name is actually a function name. It must come with this parenthesis. So we call this bracket parenthesis. And if we put anything inside it, we call what we put inside it a parameter. So after calling the parameter, whatever we use to represent the parameter here is what we call um, an argument. So for instance, let me change this to a more meaningful something. So let's say I want to greet. So I want to use this function to greet. Oh, okay. And then alert. I want to say, okay, when you greet, you say alert. Let's say assalamu alaikum. Now, so it's going to say assalamu alaikum here. But let's say I want to greet many people, like all of you here available in the class now. Will I keep writing the same function and I'll be adding to this name, to this like, oh, assalamu alaikum Khadija, assalamu alaikum Star Fatima, assalamu alaikum, and all of that? No. So the best way is to add a parameter to this by just say, okay, let me say this is the name. And then I want to alert the name here. Let me see what I can do. Okay. So I want to say assalamu alaikum, then the name. So having done this, what I just have to do, that this is where you're going to see the logic that says we use function to avoid writing a lot of code. So having done this, all I just need to say, okay, instead of name as a parameter here, I will just write the name of that person. So let's say Sister Khadija. Don't mind me, I'm supposed to put this. Okay. So this is Assalamu alaikum, Sister Khadija. If I want to greet about three other people again, all I just have to do is repeat all of them. So for this one, let me just change it to Fatima. Let me just change this to Brother Adam. Let me just change this to, let me see people in. So let me just change this name to any other name. I cannot remember who is in class again. So let me just say Brother Abdullah. All our brothers are Abdullah. So, so having done this, when you come here, okay, it's already, so it's going to keep alerting them one after the other. This is Sister Khadija, Sister Fatima, Assalamu alaikum, Brother Adam, Assalamu alaikum, Brother. So we do not need to actually repeat all of this. Or let me say, okay, initial, okay, instead of saying, okay, let name be this, and we will keep saying let's name, because I don't even know how you're going to do it without function. So this is what function does for us. But this format of writing function is called function declaration. We have actually digressed, because the first thing I want us to teach is this, the type of function. But we are learning anyway. Let me check. I hope I'm still recording. Okay. Then we have function expression. You see this function expression, you have to use our regular way of writing variables. So we have to assign that variable. We want to assign the function to a variable name. So this variable name here, the greet that we have here, we actually want to do it like this. Let's say const greet, and then we say equal to. Then now we would say function, our parentheses, then our code block. So this is another way of writing function. But in this way, don't let us use greet again in order not to cause wahala. Um, oh no, yeah, we can use it. Let me just comment this out. Yeah, so we have const greet is equal to function, this, and the function, a function name, as in, how do I put it? That function, that name, then parentheses, and your code block, and your code block. So inside this code block or curly brace is where you're now going to write this. Let's say this alert, so thing is the same thing. It is the same thing. So I can just um, let me copy this and paste it here. Yeah, and so it's still the same thing now. You will see that this, okay, so this is because this function comes here and we are calling it before, I don't know, we are calling function before we actually declare that function. So it's not going to work this way. Let's bring this down, and you start seeing it again. Oh, we have not declared our parameter here. So this parameter is here now. So we have the same thing here using different method of declaring them. So we call this function expression. So we are only expressing the function inside this variable. But this one is called function declaration, in the sense that you declare that name function, that word function, then your function name follows it and all of that. So this one does not make use of any equal to, but in this case any assign operator. So we are not using any assigning operator here. and this one is expression. And the last example is what we call arrow function. So arrow function is very I don't know it. As for me, I can't remember the last time I used all of them. I just don't know why. In fact, sometimes I cannot even remember their syntax again. I am used to arrow function because it's very simple. Thus, it's highly related to this function expression. Just say const greet. This is going to alert something because const, we cannot reassign it. You see, we cannot reassign it. So let me just use dash lim. Yeah. And then for arrow function, why we call it arrow function, I will show you now. So after this, instead of writing function, you do not need to write function. Just declare your parentheses. Then you put this equal to and greater than. This is where the arrow, the name comes from, saying arrow function. Then after this, you open your code block. So, and that is what we call arrow function here. You can repeat the same thing. Okay, so this is where you're going to put your parameter too. If you look at everything, they have almost the same thing. All of them have what we call a function name. Like this place, the function name is greet. This one greet. This one test lib. That is what we call a function name. But these first two, they have this word being declared, function, but arrow function does not have that. Instead of that, it makes use of this arrow. All of them have parentheses. For every function, there must be a parenthesis, which is this bracket here and this bracket here. Then inside the bracket, you may decide to put a parameter if it is necessary. But let's say we don't want to mention names or anything, then we do not need parameters. So we need to put parameters, then open our code block. Then we can just let's just take like two of these and bring them here. So this one is not going to work until you declare this. Then we're going to change this greet. Remember that our function name has been changed from greet to teslim. So we will be using teslim now. Yeah. So that is that on function name. So there are a lot of anonymous functions. Even from right from the beginning, we have been using something called we have been using functions. All our alerts, prompts, they are all functions. So they are all how do I put it? Inbuilt function, yeah. So that's the word. So they are all inbuilt function. So now let's learn more about function parameter. As I've said, these parameter are like what I mean by parameter, this name that I put here now, that is what we call parameter. So parameter parameters are like containers inside a function. They receive values. So and these are the values we give to this parameter. We can have more than one parameter. So I can say name and add role, then add let me just say something like school to my parameter. So you can have as many as possible, but it is always better to at least reduce what you have here. So in this case, so I can just say teslim. So this first one, we go for this first parameter, which is name. Then another role. So for this role, I can just say software engineer. And then for this one, I can say the role. Oh, I'm writing role again. So I can just say a virtual assistant. Okay. So this one now stand for name. This one stand for role. And then this one, let me say Uniben. So Uniben, let's say we have Unilag here too. Okay, so something like this. Then here I can just say Assalamu alaikum starting from then the role. So the role, then I can just add to that a student of school. Okay, so all these have been picked now. By the time we restart this, so it's going to say Assalamu alaikum Mr. Khadija, a software engineer, a student of Uniben. Then the next person, Assalamu alaikum Mr. Fatima, a virtual assistant, a student of Unilag. So that is what parameter does. So it helps us to, it's like a house or a kind of container that will take values later when the function is being called. All right. So um, what other thing do we have to cover? Aha, there's something we call return values in function. In function, for instance, instead of saying this hello, I can just say return. So I can just say return, and then nothing is going to show here. Then after I've said return here, I can then put this inside the alert. Okay, so as I was saying, let me enlarge this more. Return values. Sometimes we want, how do I put it? Sometimes we want our function to give us a kind of result, and we don't want to print that result. It's not a result we want to print. And that is where return value comes in. That is when we use this word return. So for instance, now, after you can see that when I said return, it's going to return this value, but until I tell it how to return it, that is when, okay, in this case now I said alert. And in this other case, I can say console. And it's going to give me the two of them just as I want. So let me just use console for one. So you realize that it's only this one that will be alerting, and that's the only thing. But it has returned the two values here. Only that the other one, we have to see it through the console. Can you see that here? And that's the only one we can see in console rather. We cannot see the first one in console. The first one I asked it to only alert. So return will actually return the values you want it to return, but it's not necessarily that it's going to print it. Sometimes I don't want to print it. I just want it to store somewhere. Like, sometimes when you are creating, a good example is when you are on a website and you are just registering for the first time. When you are registering for the first time, they ask for your name, your email address, and all of that, and you input everything, and that is a function working there. Immediately you submitted. So the return, maybe the return says it should add your input to a database, and that is what it's just going to do. I don't know if you are getting it now. So that is what it's going to do instead of just printing. So it is not every time we actually want to print our values. Sometimes we just want to save them somewhere. And that is what the return values does. Okay, another example, let me give you a very good example. So I'm writing a function called, let me say, add. So I want it to add, and then this is my parameter. Okay, this is my parenthesis rather. I want to have two parameters there. Let me just say A, then B, and then your arrow function. Then I want it to return A plus B. So this is the return that I want it to give to me, A plus B. So by the time I come here now and I say alert, and I say alert add. No, that's the name of our function, add. Then inside add, we have a parameter, so we need to provide argument for this parameter. I want A to be 2 and B to be, let's say, 4. So can you see that now? It is giving us 6. So this return has done the calculation for me. If I had not put return here, if I had not put return here, or let me say I only have, let's say, A and B, and it will just alert A and B for me. If I have something like this now, Oh, let me just return this. I've called the name of the function there. Let me just return our values. I hope you have got the information now. So this inside this now, what we want this to return is actually these operations, this mathematical operation, and not exactly writing it out for us like this. So it is not writing it out for us as A plus B when we put this. So it's just going to perform the operation, and then whatever I ask it to do, that will declare that outside. Here now, I can even do more than this. And let me perform uh, I just want to make it more complex somehow. And before it alerts it, I want us to do the math ourselves. Look at this case now. I am coming. Oh, there is no operation here. Yeah. So now we have this operation. When we want to do this ourselves, we will first start from the bracket, right? So A is 2 and B is 4. So this is 2 times 4. That is 8. Then to be multiplied by this 4 again. 8 multiplied by 4, that is 32. And 32 plus A, it should be 34 here. So we have it here. So the return is going to give us the value we want, but not in a printing form, except we tell it how we want it to print, if we want it to print it, or if we want that function to just be added to something. Let's say I didn't put alert there and I just say add. That function has been done, but we will not see the result because we are not printing it out. In summary, we have said, okay, function is a kind of block of code that performs a task. And I've told you three ways we can write function. The first one, we call it function declaration. And that is where you need to call this name function. Okay, so this is function declaration by first calling this word function and then giving it a function name, which is this grid. Open a parenthesis. If you want to put parameter there, fine. If you don't want to put parameter, it is not compulsory. And then whatever you want your code, your function to do for you, you can put it here. So we have, after that, we said we also have I usually forget. Okay, function expression. So function expression is when we need to save our function like inside a variable, like we are declaring function like we are declaring a variable. And then we have arrow function where a function tag will not be called at all. Then we have also learned about parameter, and we said a parameter is just like a variable inside a function. It takes value. It takes value. And then an argument is the value, actual value that we passed into that function to represent the in place of the parameter. Then the return value is the output of our function, the output that our function sent back to us. Okay, in order to make it, how do I put it? I want to challenge you now. Do we have some of you that are with your laptop here?
Yes.
Okay, so I want you to practice this now, and let's see if few of you can just show us. I want you to create a function. Are you going to call it the function name? Let's say you call it welcome message. Are you getting it now? And
Maybe.
then let's say you're going to give it, let's say, two parameters. One parameter for the name of the person, and the other parameter to the class we are doing. We are doing a JavaScript class now. So I want you to send a kind of create a kind of function that will say, okay, welcome so 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 person to so 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 class. So like welcome Habeebah to JavaScript class. So can we quickly do that? And then if you are done, you can share your screen with me.
Okay, on it.
So one thing you also need to note is that when you have your return like this, you do not actually always have to use this way. You can just save your return value inside another variable, like let's say result. Let result equal to, then we will say add. No, that's the name of our function. And then we say 2, 4. So this way, when you now come here, you only alert results. So this is neater than the previous way. So you only alert results. Then another thing you need to take note of is that when you are using arrow function, it is not every time you even need to call this return. That is one of the beauty of arrow function. It's not every time you need to call this return or use this code block. Doing this, I'm coming up. Writing it like this will give us the same result as return. Let me quickly show you. Okay, so can you see that? So this is the beauty. You did not open, you did not write return, you did not put any all of them inside code block again, since it is just a linear code. But when you want to have a lot of code, maybe another function inside this function or an array or something that is not linear again, then you will always need the code block, which is the curly brace. But if it is just a linear operation like this, you can just put your this is a function on its own without stress. Then another thing I want to let you know, what other thing? Maybe in the next class if I remember it, inshallah. All right, bye.